Hey guys, it's Jeremy again. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be something I have never done before. This is going to be a bit of a response video to a lot of really terrible shit that's been going on in the YA Twitter universe probably since, about the last year and a half. After last night, I did have a video about some of my favorite music was gonna go up, and that will happen eventually, but I wanted this to go up next because this is something that is very important to me and it needs to be said. This video will have massive swearing, so if you're not really open to all that, I highly recommend that you do not watch this. Ooh, excuse me. This video is going to be long, so if you're not into that, I suggest you go get some popcorn and cheesecake, whatever you like to, munch on or whatever, because it's going to be a long one. I don't know if you are familiar with Bree. I forgot your last name if you're watching this, Bree, I'm sorry. But she made a diversity video about a year ago that said, I don't remember the full title, hold on, because I want to make sure you guys are getting the right title of this video. I'm looking on my phone if you're wondering. The video is called, if I can get there, The Problem with Diversity in Books Rant. And I will have that listed up in the card here, and her following video that she did not too long ago also up in the card over here as well. Those two videos, as well as watching numerous interviews with Tiana Delakoff, just really opened my eyes to so much shit. Some stuff I already knew and was involved with a lot of YA Twitter, and things that I did not know. And it just makes me really ashamed that I supported some of these authors by buying some of their books, supporting a lot of these publishers that believe this way. I'm not going to fault the authors that are being a part of this publisher that wasn't a part of this whole nonsense. I'm still going to be buying their books. I'm not going to be faulting them because of the publishing industry. But after what recently happened, I will never be a traditionally published author. I will continue to write my books, and when I do, I will be self-publishing, which to me is so much better than being a traditionally published author. And now more than ever, I will probably never write a YA novel. I will stay and stick with adult, because I think writing adult books just works best for me. I feel like there's much more to play around with, and people aren't as critical when it comes to adult fiction than they are to the YA genre. But basically, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and then I'll kind of touch on a little bit of what Bree had, and the hatred and the attacking that she has had to experience. So we're going to rewind time, not really, that'd be awesome, but to March of this year. So I was on Twitter, right, just randomly on Twitter, just, poking around, seeing what, my friends were up to, and I randomly saw a thing talking about a book called The Black Witch, which is by author Lori Forrest. And this is what that book looks like. I bought this book because this book received so much hate and criticism and nonstop hatred. And when any book gets like that, and Shauna's review, which I will have her blog post linked in the description, she wrote a 9,000 word review for this book, saying that this book is racist, this book is homophobic, this book is ableist, and about 1,000 other things, and how this book is written by a white person for white people that say that they're not a racist. Now, this is where I have problems with this book. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't have problems with this book. I have problems with her review and how she freaking thinks this way. I'm not going to read you the beginning of the review because I would have to pull it up and it would mess up things. But I'll start off by saying my biggest problem are the blind people, the sheep people, and more importantly, the brainwashed people. Give me 1 second, guys. My curtain is not wanting to cooperate. Hopefully it'll stay like that, because that sun is really, it's still coming into the window. My apologies for the interruption. But it started with people who never read the book. They did not read one sentence of this book before condemning it to the fires of hell. Saying that if you choose to read this book, you're racist. If people of color have read this book and pointed out that it's racist, and you choose to read it anyway, then you're a fucking racist. No, you are fucking not. Just because you choose to not cater to someone else's opinion and form an opinion of your own, that does not make you a pathetic racist. That makes you a pathetic racist for insisting that other people are a pathetic racist for wanting to read a YA novel. Okay? Point number 1. And the hatred just continued. Anybody that wanted to read this book is racist. And here's a wonderful quote. Here's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful little piece of thing that I found on one of Bree's videos, and I'll try to show it to you. This is an author that I really wanted to read her books. This comes from... I don't think it's going to let me do that. This comes from author Kira Knight, right? Trista Wright. I don't know. I'm horrible at pronouncing this. But it shows a picture. It's like a cartoon animated picture, and I'll show you in a minute, of one of the other characters slapping another character across the face, and then it has this at the top. I don't care if someone else said the book is problematic. I'm going to read, and it cuts off. And this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see the top of the writing portion. I'll see. See, yeah, it's showing up, but it's not like... There we go. A little bit. You guys can generally get this gist. It's like, it's super zoomed in and everything. There we go. That was one of the posts, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Do you realize how problematic that is? Not problematic, but do you realize how messed up and fucked up that is? People thought 50 Shades was problematic, and did that stop the book sales? Did that stop the movie? Did that stop people going to see the movie? It may have stopped a few people, but people still bought the books. The books, last time I looked, had sold over 150 million copies worldwide. The first movie got over $570 million at the box office, and the second movie grossed over, I think it was $350 million at the box office. So it didn't stop a whole lot. People still went and still supported that franchise and that story. And it didn't stop. I think it's great because the day this came out, silence. All that controversy of trying so hard and convince people to not go and pick this up when it comes out. People were trying so hard to get this to be removed from shelves, and Harley Quinn wasn't having it. This book was still going to come out as scheduled. Because do you realize how hard it is to pull a book and to make it not come out? That's not easy, because there's so much planning goes into every book that publishes, especially traditionally, and a lot of people don't really realize that. It was way too close to printing. They already printed the copies by then. It was March. People need to understand they have a book printed. Depending on the book, sometimes they will print months ahead of time, and by the time it was like really knee deep into it, it was about, I think it was like the 27th of April. So it was only a few days away from publication. they've already printed thousands of copies by that point, and sent it out to the retailers at that point. I think by then Amazon already had that because of their pre-orders. So I mean, and it didn't change anything. All that hatred, all that nonsense did not stop the publication of this book. You can still buy this. This publisher also published an ebook novella called The Wand Fasting, I think it's called. Forgive me, I don't have that one yet. I haven't gotten the chance to get it for my Kindle yet because it's not available in print, and I want to support her because she's awesome sauce. But it's just ridiculous at how much people hate this one book and how they were so adamantly trying to get people to not support this novel. And one more point with another book that I have also goes with that, and that is Carve the Mark. In November of last year, I started hearing about this. People were getting ARCs in them, people were receiving ARCs. A lot of the big booktubers were reviewing this, talking about this, and I heard nothing problematic or dangerous or racist about this novel until a little bit later. Until it was, excuse me, it was in February, it was in January, and it was exactly 2 weeks before this book came out that people started throwing this stuff out there and started talking about how this book deals with the dark-skinned oppressor trope, and a lot of people said this book is just borderline a racist piece of shit. And then people were also talking about how Veronica Roth deals with chronic pain. I'm not really familiar with what that actually is. I think that is just I think that's a physical pain in the body. I'll look it up after this video and get educated on it. But in this book, apparently chronic pain is used as a gift in this book. This is a sci-fi fantasy-esque kind of world. I have yet to read this book, as I have yet to read The Black Witch, but that's okay because this is my read of November of this year, and The Black Witch is going to be my read of December. So these are the 2 books I will be reading between probably now and the rest of the year. But this was the book that just got so much hatred, and people are like, if you choose to read this, guess what? You're racist. I don't have words for that kind of shit. And then there was a booktuber. I will not adamantly say this person, but I unsubscribed. And it was a booktuber I absolutely loved following. And then at the end of the day, excuse me, I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, they are part of a much larger problem. Because they are one of those people that they came with all of that hatred for all those. There are a few more books. One book that I have in the mail that's coming today, it just hasn't got here, but I wanted to make this video anyway, is a book called The Traitor's Kiss by Aaron Bioity, I think. That is the first book of a YA fantasy trilogy, and that one was also called out as racist for having dark-skinned aggressors as well, and racial stereotyping. There's a book that is called Sad Perfect by Stephanie Elliott. That book has been called out for being problematic and incredibly dangerous because apparently it has a very wrong depiction of eating disorders. There's a book that's called, I think it's called Before She Ignites or Before It Ignites, something like that, by Jody Meadows. This is a white author that has written a woman of color into the book, and that's problematic because she's white, right? Because white people aren't allowed to write about people of color. It goes these two ways. Either your books don't have diversity or don't have enough diversity, so people are calling out saying, why doesn't your books have diversity? That's just not acceptable, damn it. Or there's 2. Or when you have diversity and it's not done accurately and respectfully, and then people hate you anyway. So there is no safe ground in this kind of situation here. There is no middle ground. It's either one or it's two, and it's freaking ridiculous. For me, in my books, I wrote a black character into my book. That's how he always pictured in my head. Now, he's never said in dialogue, he's said in dialogue that he's black, but he's never said in dialogue that he's in description. So when that ever comes out, I don't know what kind of backlash or what people are gonna see of that. It's just, I just don't know. We'll see what happens when I eventually publish this book. But to me, it's just nonsense. There's a few more books. There's a big one which was supposed to be coming out. This was supposed to release November of last year, and I think it was. If I'm wrong, just let me know. But I'm pretty sure it was supposed to come out in November of last year, and then it was moved until January of next year, and then it was moved once again because the publisher removed it from the publishing so it could be re-edited and re-revised and change the stereotyping racist undertones and things that are in this novel. My allergies are really bad, guys, so I deeply apologize. And the book is called The Covenant by Kira Drake. And I will leave a link to the Goodreads page to that book down below. Highly recommend that you go and check this book out. It sounds so absolutely incredible. And the new release date for the book is March 27th, 2018. And if that still comes out on that day, I am going to be pre-ordering that shit. And I cannot wait to read that. That sounds so good. And I'm really incredibly disappointed that I don't get to read the original version of that novel. I don't get to experience the original thing of that book, and it really makes me very sad. But, with all that being said, this is just the shit show that is YA Twitter, and it is the YA book community. And watch those two videos up there, and you'll understand so much more than what I can say. These are just the kinds of things that are happening in the YA book community lately. You know, that books are being called out for being problematic, and anyone who chooses to read them is either a racist, if it's involving racism. If it is a book that's being called out for homophobic, you're homophobic. Or, you know, people who, for a while, people were calling out Sad Perfect because apparently it has a wrong depiction of eating disorders. The author's daughter has an eating disorder. So it's not like, that having somebody going to the doctor, learning about what that is, that's research enough as it is. When you have someone that you're around all the time and you're doing things all the time, that is research enough, okay? You're going to the doctor, you're talking to them, they're telling you all these things about it and how you can get it better. That is research by itself anyway. I'm sure she could do more as well, and I'm sure she did when she wrote this book. How do you know this is a wrong depiction of it? It's just really fucking stupid. And now I'm gonna go and I've ran on for 20 minutes about these two books and a lot of that. I'm gonna talk about my next point, and this is gonna go back to Bree. So many agents and bloggers and publishers and reviewers attacked her because of that first video about diversity. And after this, it makes me not want to pick up a single book that has diversity in it. Because of all the shit she was saying. Because there is a tweet, and I don't think I have this saved, and it says, instead of recommending the Raven Boys, recommend, I think it's Maggie, I forgot the author's name, I apologize, it's part of a tweet, I don't remember, recommend blah blah blah, instead of John Green, recommend Angie Thomas, who wrote The Hate U Give, if you don't know. And I have a small thing about that book at the very end of this video. And then there is, and then it says at the very bottom, recommend POC, people of color, books above all others. That is the most arrogant tweet I think I've ever heard of in my whole freaking life. I get it. Diversity is very, very important. These people want this like it is cocaine or heroin or meth. They want it so badly, they are not afraid to attack you if you're against it. I'm not against it. I know this may be, a little weird and it comes across a little bit not like that, but I'm not against diversity in books. I love reading books. For me, my issue and my experience with it is I've never come across a diverse story that was really, really good, that I actually wanted to read. I have books that have gay characters and bisexual characters and people of the LGBT community. And, I have a few books that have gay characters. Something like Lightning by J. Bell has a black protagonist. But nobody's calling his book out for being racist or anything. Then again, it's self-published, and I feel like if you're self-published, you're almost safe from all this drama hatred that's been going on. But go and support Brie. Go and subscribe to her YouTube channel. Follow her on Twitter. She is just a absolute brilliant woman, because she had the guts to call out all these things that actually was saying, and they turned on each other. Everybody was just turning on each other, and there is one person who's on Twitter that I had a knee-deep argument with over the Black Witch, and it just turned really bad because there was nothing I could say. This is a debut author of 2018. She has her first book coming out, and apparently it's gonna be a kind of a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but it's gonna have a black protagonist. And I'm like, another retelling of Alice in Wonderland? Fucking really? That was the only thing when I found out the premise. How many books have we had that were retellings of Alice in Wonderland? No matter if it's through the opinion of the Red Queen, it's still essentially a retelling of that world. I'm like, enough with the Alice in Wonderland retellings bullshit. I think the book world is fucking tired of it, especially YA fiction. That's all I'm going to say there. Now, as back onto my last point of this video, and that is, I do get often asked whether I'm going to be, do I want to read diverse books? And I do want to read diverse books, but I have not found one that I wanted to read. All of the ones that are out, they do not interest me very much. The one book that I actually do want to read that is diverse is called Everything by Nicola Yoon. That is one is on my Amazon wish list, and I will gift that to myself at some time in the future, because I do really want to read that. It looks really, really good. Because it's about a teenage girl who has this disease, and she can't leave her house, and there's a new boy that moves in next door that she really likes, but she can't see him or talk to him because she cannot leave the confines of her house. So it just sounds really good for a contemporary. And the last point is, a lot of people have asked me, can you please review The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas? I have nothing against this book, but I think it's a little bit unfair to how popular this book has become, and how easy she got a movie deal months before the book was even published. And yet books like, I don't even know, other authors have been waiting years for their movies to happen for their books, and she gets one without even trying. For me, and if you want my personal opinion, I think The Hate U Give is one of the most overhyped books of 2017. The book has only been out for a couple of months, and they're already, okay, let me say this. The book has only been out for, I think, 5 months, I think. They're already filming the movie. I think the movie is expected to release next year sometime. And I have decided I'm never going to read this book, because I'm just not, the premise, and to me, it has nothing to do with the idea and premise to the story. Okay, it may be a little, but you guys know when it comes to it, when it comes to me and YA fiction, I don't really like reading female first-person novels. So that was a very big reason why I didn't want to read this book. And then I found out what it's about, and it just does not interest me to read it. I don't really, because this feels like very political, and I don't really like reading political types of books. So I will not be reading this one. I'm sorry for those who have been asking me to review it. Plus, the book is like 450 pages, and that seems like a really long book for a contemporary, and I'm just not going to be jumping into that pool of interest. So I will see you guys later in my next video. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. Let me know down in the comments your views on all of this crap that's been going on, because I'm not gonna stop. After recent events, I'm not gonna shy away from my true opinions of things. I'm gonna be brutally honest, and if people want to still support me here, you guys still can. I'm not gonna be going anywhere. I'm just, when it comes to YA books, I'm gonna read whatever the fuck I want, and out there, you do not let anyone discourage you, brainwash you, or turn you into a fucking sheep just because of a book. If you have a book that people have called out for problematic, fuck those people. You buy that shit, read that shit, go to the library for that shit, whatever you want to do. You go and read that book. Whether it's The Black Witch, whether it's Carve the Mark. If these are books that you've been wanting to read them. Go to your library if you can't afford to go and buy one. Pirate it, for God's sake. Whatever you can do to be able to enjoy these stories, do it. Do it. It's my last little point of this video. I will see you guys in my next video, and bye.